Welcome back, everyone, for another deep dive. This time, we're tackling a topic that I know a lot of you have been requesting.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're diving into the quest for free energy. We've got some really interesting discussion to dig into today.
It's a good one.
Yeah. So basically, we've got all these ideas about different energy sources and
If any of them could actually be free.
right. Our mission today is to figure out how possible that actually is and uncover some surprising facts about how we use and think about energy in the first place. So buckle up.
Yeah, this should be fun.
Okay, so the source material jumps right into the big problem. It basically paints this picture of just how much energy our society consumes.
Oh, yeah.
It's wild. It's like our whole civilization is running on this giant hamster wheel of
It's-
energy consumption.
We need energy for everything. I mean, everything from transportation to
Right.
manufacturing
Yeah, obvious stuff.
to things we don't even think about, like the internet.
Oh, for sure. And the demand just keeps growing.
Yeah, and here's the thing. The source material points out that our main energy sources,
Hmm.
like fossil fuels,
Hmm.
are finite.
Right,
They're not going to last forever,
right.
and they're getting more and more expensive.
Like a ticking time bomb.
Right.
Makes you wonder if we could fix the energy problem.
Yeah.
Could we solve, like, a bunch of other global problems, too?
Potentially, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, just imagine a world where energy was like totally abundant and accessible for
Wow.
everyone. It could
Oh.
totally transform like everything,
Yeah.
industries,
Yeah.
economies,
Yeah.
even international relations.
Right, it would change the game completely. Okay, so the stakes are high. Now, the source material digs into some of the big contenders for free energy, and it starts with solar and wind. They seem like kind of the obvious solutions.
Right.
Clean, renewable, what's not to love?
Well, it's a little more complicated than that. While solar and wind are great for a lot of things,
Sure.
they're not that efficient, and it's tough to scale them up, especially when it comes to transportation,
Oh, wow.
which actually uses a massive 70% of global energy consumption.
Wow, that's a huge chunk. So even if we like covered every rooftop with solar panels, we'd still struggle to power all of our,
Cars, planes, ships.
yeah, all the things that move us around.
Exactly. And here's a crazy thing. Solar energy has been around for over a century,
Yeah.
like way back to 1883.
Really? I had no idea.
Yeah, wild.
You'd think in over 100 years we would have totally figured it out by now.
Yeah, but it all comes down to cost and practicality. Solar panels cost a lot to install,
Right.
and they take up a ton of space to make energy on a large scale. Plus, solar and wind power, they're intermittent.
I mean,
Like the sun doesn't always shine, the wind doesn't always blow. So they're not that reliable if you need constant energy.
got it. Okay, so it's not as simple as we might think. What about nuclear power? The source material talks about both fission and fusion, right?
It does. And it starts with fission. That's what we use in power plants today. And nuclear fission actually has some surprising upsides. It's super efficient. A little bit of uranium makes a massive amount of energy.
Okay, so it's powerful.
Very. It's also self-sustaining. Like once the process gets going, it just keeps going.
Yeah.
This chain reaction
Mm-hmm.
creates tons of energy. And we've even used it for vehicles, like nuclear submarines.
Wow. Okay, but I'm guessing there's a but coming.
Oh, definitely. And it's a big one.
Oh.
Radiation
Well, okay.
fission makes radioactive waste. It's dangerous and really hard to get rid of safely.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
And then there's the risk of accidents, like Chernobyl
Right.
or Fukushima. They had huge, long-lasting consequences.
Yeah, those are hard to ignore.
Exactly. It's just too dangerous for widespread use, especially in things like cars or planes.
Oh, right.
Think about it. A nuclear-powered car gets in an accident.
Yeah, that's a scary thought.
Consequences could be disastrous.
The source material mentioned something about nuclear-powered planes. From, like, the Cold War. Was that real?
Well, both the U.S. and the Soviet Union said they had them,
Hmm.
but neither side ever showed any real proof.
Interesting.
It's one of those mysteries that we may never know the answer to.
Right.
But even if those planes were real, they probably would have never left the ground.
Because of the danger.
Exactly.
Okay, so fission is probably not the answer. What about fusion? It's always being talked about as this holy grail of energy, 8 times more powerful than fission, less dangerous radiation. And it uses hydrogen, which
Mhm.
we've got tons of in water, as fuel.
Fusion is a very tempting idea. After all, it's what powers the sun.
Right.
If we could figure out how to harness it, it would completely change energy production.
I can imagine.
Imagine fusion power plants right in the middle of cities.
Wow.
No risk of a meltdown.
That would be incredible. No more giant power plants.
Well,
No more miles of power lines. It sounds too good to be true.
and that's kind of the catch. It's really hard to make a fusion reaction happen and to keep it going.
How hard are we talking?
It's like incredibly hard. You need super high temperatures, about 100 million degrees Celsius.
100 million.
Yeah, hotter than the core of the sun.
Wow.
We can make those temperatures in labs, but
Yeah.
keeping them going long enough to make usable energy, that's a whole other challenge.
So we're not quite there yet,
Not quite.
but still a really cool area of research.
Oh, absolutely. And it actually brings us to another cool concept. The source material touches on this idea of getting solar energy directly from the sun,
Like how?
potentially through something called a Dyson sphere.
A Dyson sphere.
Yeah, it's this, like, theoretical megastructure that would be built around a star to capture its energy.
It sounds like science fiction.
It kind of is.
Okay, so before we get totally lost in space, let's bring it back down to Earth. We've gone through some of the biggest free energy contenders, and none of them seem to be the perfect solution. But here's where things get really interesting. The source material challenges us to think differently about energy. Like, what if the problem isn't finding a new source, but changing how we think about and use energy altogether?
It's a huge shift in perspective.
Yeah.
The source material argues that our energy consumption is so high, partly because fossil fuels have been so cheap for so long.
Right.
So we built this whole system that's super inefficient
Yeah.
and totally reliant on transportation.
It's like we built everything on this idea that energy was cheap and plentiful, and now we're scrambling to adapt to a world where that's not true anymore.
Exactly.
The source material makes this comparison. To bottled water versus rainwater, we pay for someone to process and deliver water when it's basically free in its natural state.
It's a really good analogy. We're so used to paying for energy that we've forgotten it's all around us.
Right. Think about all the energy that goes into just shipping stuff, or even just like driving to work every day.
Yeah, for sure. What if we could use energy more locally, make it
Yeah.
more efficient, and have it available right when we need it?
Right. What if we could just tap into the energy that's already there, the sun, the wind, instead of relying on these massive centralized systems?
That would be a huge change in how we think about things.
It would. But it's starting to make a lot of sense.
It really is a radical shift.
Yeah.
But maybe that's what we need, to break free from the way things are.
Yeah, maybe so. Okay, so we've talked about the problem. We've explored some potential solutions. Now I want to hear what you think. Head over to our website and leave a comment. Tell us your thoughts on the quest for free energy. What do you think the future holds? We'll be back soon with part 2 of this deep dive, where we'll explore some even more mind-blowing ideas. So stay tuned. All right, so we're back and ready to keep diving deep into the quest for free energy.
Sounds good.
Last time, we talked about how energy hungry our society is, and we debunked some popular contenders for free energy, like solar, wind, and even nuclear power. But then things got really interesting. When the source material started challenging our whole way of thinking about energy, it's like, maybe the problem isn't just about finding a new source of energy, but about changing our entire relationship with energy. So I want to pick up right where we left off and explore what that might actually look like.
Okay, so where do we start?
So the source material paints this picture of a future where energy is more localized and efficient. Can you expand on that a little? Like, what would that actually look like?
So imagine this. We've got decentralized energy production.
Okay.
Instead of these huge power plants and all those power lines, we'd have smaller, more localized energy sources.
What?
Think like solar panels on rooftops
Right.
paired with home batteries, maybe even community wind farms,
Okay, I can see that.
and maybe even those microfusion reactors.
Yeah.
If that technology ever takes off.
Right, right. So it's like more self-sufficiency, less reliance on big energy companies.
Yeah, exactly. Energy becomes more like a utility that you manage yourself.
Like we do with water in some places.
Yeah, exactly. And think about this. We'd lose way less energy during transmission
Oh,
because you're only making what you need,
right.
when and where you need it.
That makes a lot of sense. But what about transportation? Like cars and planes? We can't exactly stick a mini fusion reactor in every vehicle.
Probably not, no.
Yeah.
But the source material makes this really interesting point. Our transportation systems today, they're built on this assumption that energy is cheap and abundant.
Right.
What if we flip that around? What if efficiency was the top priority?
So instead of trying to power our gas-guzzling cars with something new, we rethink the cars themselves.
Exactly. And we're already seeing that happen with electric vehicles.
Right.
As battery technology gets better and charging stations become more common, electric cars could become the standard.
Okay, so maybe the future of energy isn't about finding one magical free energy source,
Mm,
but about using a mix of new technologies and smarter designs and just completely changing how we think about energy.
exactly. And realizing that we already have access to some amazing
Yeah.
energy sources.
Hmm.
Right here on Earth, like the sun, the
Yeah.
source material points out, that if we could use even a small fraction of the solar energy, that hits our planet every day.
Yeah.
It could power our civilization for way longer than any fossil fuels ever could.
It's funny how we started talking about the Dyson sphere, this giant structure to capture energy from a star, and now we're realizing the solution might be much simpler. Maybe
Yeah.
it's not about building bigger and more complex systems,
Yeah.
but about working with what we already have more intelligently, more efficiently.
Yeah. It's kind of humbling. We always think bigger is better, but sometimes the simplest solutions are the best ones.
Right. And that brings us to one of the most thought-provoking parts of this whole discussion, the paradox of humanity. The source material asks this really interesting question. Why does humanity, a species that really doesn't need that much energy to survive, strive to harness such massive amounts of energy?
It is a profound question. I mean, think about it. Compared to other animals, our basic energy needs are actually pretty small.
Right.
We don't need to migrate thousands of miles or hunt huge animals to survive,
Right.
but we have this drive to manipulate and control energy
Yeah.
in a way that no other species does.
It's like we're wired differently. Like we have this built-in desire to create, to build, to explore.
And all those things require energy.
Exactly.
The source material even speculates that maybe humanity's role is to be like a catalyst for energy transformation.
A catalyst.
Yeah, like it calls us living antimatter,
Living antimatter.
constantly trying to convert matter into energy.
Wow. That's a pretty powerful image. Makes you think about the scale of human ingenuity.
And our impact on the planet.
It really does.
It suggests that our relationship with energy is way more profound than we realize.
So it's not just about keeping the lights on or filling up our gas tanks. Maybe it's about something much bigger.
Maybe it's about fulfilling some kind of cosmic purpose.
I like that. Okay, so this has been a lot to take in. We've gone from debunking free energy myths to rethinking our entire relationship with energy to thinking about our place in the universe.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
It is.
But before we get too lost in all of that, let's bring it back down to earth for a second. What does all of this mean for us? For the average person trying to make sense of it all?
Well, I think the big takeaway is that while we're still searching for that perfect, unlimited source of free energy, our real problems right now are more about how much we waste and how we think about our energy needs in the first place. We might actually have more energy than we realize if we just learn to use it better.
So it's not just about finding a new source, but about changing how we relate to energy altogether.
Exactly. It's about realizing that energy isn't just something to buy and sell, but a fundamental force that connects us all.
Okay, now that's a thought. And it brings us to one final thought-provoking point from the source material. What if advanced civilizations out there have figured out energy to the point that we can't even detect them?
Like, what do you mean?
Like that they've become energy ninjas.
Well, imagine. They've evolved beyond our understanding of energy. What if they've learned to be so efficient that their activities don't even leave an energy signature?
So we're looking for signs of energy use when they've moved past that entirely.
Exactly.
It's like we're looking for smoke signals in a world of fiber optic cables.
Right.
That's wild.
It really makes you think about all the assumptions we're making about the universe and how much we might be missing.
It's kind of humbling, but also kind of exciting. Maybe the most advanced civilizations are the quietest ones, the ones that have learned to live in balance without leaving a trace.
Yeah, maybe they've achieved this level of energy mastery that lets them blend right into the cosmos.
Wow. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today. From debunking free energy myths, to rethinking our relationship with energy, to the possibility of invisible aliens.
It's been quite a journey.
It has, and I hope it's gotten you thinking about the energy that powers our world.
Me too.
So we want to hear from you. What does free energy mean to you? What role does energy play in your life? And what kind of energy future do you want to see? Leave us a comment on our website and let us know your thoughts. We'll be back soon with part 3 of this deep dive, where we'll explore even more mind-blowing ideas. Until then, keep seeking, keep questioning, and keep diving deep. All right, we're back
Back again.
for the final part of our deep dive into free energy. And man, we've covered a lot of ground, from debunking those popular free energy myths to rethinking our whole relationship with energy to even like imagining invisible alien civilizations.
It's been a wild ride.
It has. And I think
Glad.
it all leads to a pretty big question. What is our place in all of this? Are we just this energy-hungry species messing things up? Or are we something more?
Yeah, it's a big question. And it's one worth thinking about, especially after all this talk about living antimatter,
Right.
this force for energy transformation.
Are we using that power responsibly, though?
That's the question.
It's like we've been looking at energy through such a narrow lens, focused on like our immediate needs
Yeah.
or desires, but maybe there's a bigger picture.
Oh, I think there is.
Yeah.
It's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day, trying to power our homes and our lives.
Right.
But this whole exploration of free energy, I think it's pushing us to think bigger, think long-term,
To think about our responsibility to the planet.
and to future generations.
Yeah, it's like a call to action,
Yeah.
to rethink how we relate to energy, to find a way to meet our needs
Yeah.
without destroying the planet for everyone else.
Exactly. And it goes back to something we talked about earlier,
What's that?
that free energy might not be about finding a new source, but about changing our relationship with energy. It's about seeing energy, not just as a thing to buy and sell, but as a fundamental force. That connects us all.
So maybe, instead of trying to use more and more energy, we should focus on using it better,
Yeah, maybe real progress isn't about consuming more,
but finding that balance.
between what we need and our impact on the planet.
It's a tough challenge,
It is.
but it feels like we're at a turning point.
Yeah.
The choices we make now about how we produce and use energy are going to have a huge impact on the future.
For everyone.
We've faced big challenges before. We landed on the moon. We mapped the human genome. We built the internet.
And we can do this too.
If I can do all that, we can figure out this energy thing.
I agree. This whole quest for free energy, it's really a quest for a better future.
Yeah.
It's about creating a world where energy isn't something that divides us
But something that brings us together.
and helps us all thrive.
I like that. This deep dive has been incredible.
It really has.
We've challenged some assumptions, explored some wild ideas, and hopefully gotten you thinking in new ways.
Yeah. And maybe the most important thing is that we've asked more questions than we've answered.
Right.
Because sometimes the questions are more important than the answers.
So, to all of you listening, we leave you with this. What does free energy mean to you? What role does energy play in your life? And what kind of energy future do you want to create? Keep searching, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.
Yeah.
Till next time.